Okay, I'm going to go into now the subject pronoun, and I think what I like to do is write them on the board, give you a full picture of what's called the subject pronoun. In English, the subject pronoun are words like I, you, he, she, they. These are called subject of the sentence, and they are a pronoun. They're in place of a noun. So the words that we have in Hebrew, traditionally written out, are the following words. The first word
What
I,
page are you on? Are you referencing a page?
the page I'm looking at as far as the textbook is concerned, as I get my mishkafayim on my eyes here, right here, it's page 47 and on to page 48, I believe.
Already.
And then she has some readings with them. But basically, 47 is primarily where she has a chart, and let's say page 48 as well. Anyway, getting back to the subject pronoun. The first subject pronoun, which translates in English as the word I, is the word ani. And here we've got to be very, very careful. That word ani, as is the word ani written on the board, is both masculine and feminine. There's no gender distinction between male and female when I use the word ani. So a woman can say ani, referring to herself. A man can say ani, referring to himself. Gender distinction is not notable or indicated with the first person masculine singular, and for that matter, with the first person plural as well, the word anachnu. From a syllabication point of view, look at the word ani, and what you'll have is one syllable. You have the consonant aleph, followed by the hatapata, followed by the nun, followed by the long chirik, and so it's C-I-N-C-V. The second person is the word ata. If you look carefully at the textbook, she has the word ata, and she also has the word at. We're going to put it this way. Ata is masculine singular, and at is the feminine singular. And both those words are very unusual when you look at them. To begin with, the word ata is the second person masculine singular, but it ends with a kamate. Does that not contradict all that I've said so far about the feminine marker kamate, which I have said again and again? A kamate ending word is a feminine gender, and yet this word ata is masculine. So you have a complete flip flop here with that second person. Also notice the syllabication. You have the consonant aleph, the pata, and then followed by a negation. The next letter is a strong dot, closes the short vowel underneath the aleph. The tav letter is doubled, and CV with C in brackets is the last syllable. Again, a word ending with a hey letter is no doubt not a vowel, not a consonant, but a vowel marker. Then you look at the word at. That word at is just as baffling as the word ata. The at word is the feminine word. The ata word is the masculine word. But from the point of view of syllabication, what's going on here? You have an aleph, you have a patach, and you have the next letter which has both a dot and a shva that follows it. So is it CVC, which is what you think it is, and then that tav is doubled, it appears, if this is a dagesh chazak, and what's that shva doing here? Are you not having another syllable, si, shana? And is there a syllable in Hebrew of a consonant with a shana? And here is where we have a major innovation. The word at is unique in a way. Unique because of the last letter tav having a shva written underneath it. We don't write a shvanach, let's assume it's that, under any last letter. The shvanach is only found so far studied with a final letter chaf. It's not found with a letter taf until now. We now make the introduction. There's
Does it make a sound, or is it just as a to differentiate between the nun and that?
no. As far as the nun goes, the final nun and the final half, that's why we have a final half that I mentioned here. All right, let me take that question again. The reason why, according to most people, the final letter half is written with a shvan nach alongside of it is to distinguish it from a formal letter or a final letter nun. You can't see the difference here, but back in the day, the final nun and the final half looked something like that. So I'm told. So I've seen it this way as well. In other words, the handwriting did not distinguish well the two final letters, the final nun and the final half. And so a tradition came about to make a final marker like that alongside the final half so that we don't make an error. And again, back in the day, the letters, the words were written crunched one against the other. You couldn't even tell what word separated from another word. And that's where you have a Balkori come in, who reads the Torah. These letters are literally thrown together. Not today's Torah scrolls, but the Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, which was probably the tradition of how they used to write back in the day. In any case, there's a problem also with these words. First of all, let me make this comment. There's a tendency in Hebrew, if a word ends with the dental letters, the tet letter, the dalal letter, and the tav letter, you may find a shvanach underneath the last letter. It doesn't happen all the time, if at all, but when it does happen, these are the three letters that will show the marker of a final shvanach.
What is
And
that? Does it have a sound? No soundless?
how's
Silent?
it?
Is it
It's
silent?
yeah, it's silent, but in other words, there's no need for that, except to say that every letter should have an accompaniment, and maybe that's the reason why. And if that's so, then why not all last letters, whatever word it is, ending with a letter, which has a shvanach understood underneath it, then why don't you put a shvanach on the all last letters? We just don't, except the final half. And then we discover now final dentals have that tendency as well. It could be the way they said the dental letter. I don't know why. But then once you have a tradition started, it gets perpetuated. Nobody asks questions, just do it. Okay, let's now also talk something else right now. This particular word at, properly spelled out, is a patach, a dagesh tav in the tav, and a shvan underneath the tav. That word at, when you look at it without vowels, looks like another word, the word et, which is the sign of a direct object of a noun, or of a verb, I should say. And that word doesn't translate into English at all. We'll see the word et when she introduces it.
So it's at?
At is the word you, Y-O-U,
Uh-huh.
feminine singular.
Oh, okay.
When you write with vowels, which is what's required when it comes to grammar, you have to write the word at with a patach, dagesh in the tav, and a shva underneath it. And then we have another theory that's involved here. These words, ata and at, come from a Ugaritic background. The word should be anta. And the other one is the word ant. In other words, the words ata and at, quote unquote, are not originally Hebrew. They come from a Canaanite language, as we call it, the Ugaritic language. And if that's so, then watch what happens. The case of anta, the letter nun in Hebrew, forget about Ugaritic, in the Hebrew language, has a tendency of assimilating into the next letter if there's a shvanach underneath the nun. A word that has a nun in the middle of a word, not a shvanach, but a shvanach, the nun assimilates, it just falls into the next letter. So back,
Because normally it would be a syllable marker. If it wasn't a syllable marker, it would be sounded. You see what I'm saying?
no, I don't see what
So,
you're saying.
in between my understanding of the spana is a distinction between different syllables in a word.
Okay, let me just do it slowly. The word on top. If this is the word that originates the word that causes the word ata to come about, if I had to break it into syllables, you have CVC. The consonant of the patach closed by the shva underneath the next letter. CVC, the second syllable is CV, and C in brackets. But what Hebrew does, whenever a nun letter occurs in a word and it has a shvanach under it, the nun letter does not exists. It falls into the next letter. So the anta word becomes ata. That dagesh and that tav represent the assimilated nun. The assimilated nun was the nun originally that closed the patach underneath the aleph.
So it merged to make the ata with the.
Well, that's the word. And the same thing goes with ant. Watch what I'm writing. In the case of ant, what you have is CV, CC. This is the syllable for ant. CV, nun with a shvanach, and a tav with a shvanach. CVCC. On the other hand, if this is a shvanach, then this is a dagesh kal. Don't you see what the problem is? It's a question of assimilating the nun. Most people know for nothing about this. They see the word as at, and they explain it how come. The dagesh in that tav is probably the assimilated nun. But there's no need to have a shva underneath the word. The word ends with the tav. But then again, there's a tendency, if a word ends with a dalet, a tav, and with a tet, to write the shvanach underneath it. It's not necessary, but that's what we do. There are two other words I use in class. The word nerd is a liturgical word. This is how it's written in the Torah, in the Siddur. Nerd. You have the nun, the tzere, got C, V, C, and then you got a dalet with a dagesh in it, like a dagesh cow, I guess, and a shva underneath it. And then there's the word kosht. Same situation. The last letter tet has a shvan underneath it. The word actually ends with what appears to be two shvanachs. No need to go any deeper than that. It's just to pointing out that the,
With two spanas. I thought you couldn't have it. That's a spana cluster. Or not necessarily, not in this case, because it's the final
a
letter.
shva cluster would be if the two shvanas, this ends with two shvanachs.
Oh, okay.
Silent shvas. I understand your question. If you have shvas in the beginning of the word, at the beginning of the word, they're shvanas. If you have two shvas in the middle of the word, the first is nach and the second is na. If you have two shvas at the end of the word, then they both are silenced.
So go to the illustration above. So the first one is sounded, and the second one is not, where the two X's are, with the way you put the line through it. Where the two spana. So you said one's of a spana, one's a spana.
That's in the middle of a word.
Right, so in the middle word, which one is sounded? The first one or the second one?
No, the first one is silent. The second one is sounded.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Trying to think of an example to give you right now to show that.
What you just showed it right there.
Okay.
But I mean, like in the basically with the X letter showing how it would play out.
No, it would be good to show an example of what I just said, but it doesn't come that quickly. You know, obviously, it's not that common. Anyway, in the middle of a word, you have two shvas. The first is nach, second is na. Then there's a question if you have a dot in the middle, a letter in the middle of the word, a letter in the middle which has a dot and a shva under it. The dot is chazak and the shva is shvana. Anyway, let me get back to the subject pronoun. It's important that we see that. That might explain why the ata word is masculine and the at word is feminine and strange vocalizations is found. Let's pick up with the words again. When we normally write down the subject pronouns, we write on the right side is the masculine, and on the left side, going from right to left, is the feminine. Now the third person, masculine singular he, the Hebrew English word he, he, is who. And then you have a play upon words, at least the sound. The feminine third person singular she is he. And so you can make a cute little combination. Who is he and he is she. And there cannot be a better line to remember Hebrew grammar so far studied than that line. You talk about gender problems. Who is he and he is she? Say it a few times. Who is he and he is she? You got a problem with that? That's Hebrew. Do you understand the who here is the Hebrew word who? And the translation to English.
Can we write the English next to the Hebrew for illustration?
You want me to write what next to Hebrew? Who is he?
Yeah, right next to it. Like who is he and he and
well,
he is
I'm not sure what you want me to do. And then he is she.
Exactly, yeah. And then for the other ones too.
Okay.
Can you do it for the other ones too?
What is, who is he? What do you want me to
No, that's fine.
That's fine. And then even from an English point of view, look at the third person in English. The word for the masculine is he. The word for the feminine is is. S added to the he. Is this by accident? I'm not sure it is at all. But notice the similarity in spelling even. Anyway, that's your so-called masculine, that's the singular subject pronouns. Then you have the plural forms. As the first person singular is both male and female, the same is true in the plural. Anachnu. Anachnu, we, W-E.
Is that the same as us? Or is that distinct from us?
Is that the same as what?
Us
No.
Versus we.
Us, this is a subject pronoun. Us is already an indirect object pronoun or direct object. We're talking grammar now. Subject, meaning the ani is not receiving action, but is the subject doing the action. That's what subject means. Anachnu is we, W-E. Just think of the English word we. You don't say in English, I see we. You say, I see us, or something like that. Anyway, anachnu. Look again at application, C-I-N-C-V-C. See that first syllable? C-I-N-C-V-C. C-I-N. That ayin there is a chatah fatah underneath the aleph. Then you continue with the constant nun, fatah, closed by the shvanach underneath the chet. The second syllable is CV. And then you got your plural second person masculine atem. And you got your plural second person feminine aten. The difference is the mem, if you want to see it this way, masculine, the nun, if you want to see it this way, for the keva. Atem and aten. If the you in the plural is strictly male, a few males, you say atem. If it's a mixed you, male and female, you use atem. Atem is only strictly feminine. And the same thing is true with the hain word for they, and hain for they, feminine plural. So we make a distinction. Where you don't make a distinction is in the first person, the ani and the anachnu. Okay, let me now go into her readings right now. Edna does the same thing as I did, only she has her chart written the way she does, and she goes into a little explanation in the next paragraph. All right, let me take a look now as we look at the sentences on page 48, and that will help reinforce what we did. When you see the sentence number one, Dan Pakid, if you translate on page 48, the first line, literally the words, Dan Pakid, it translates as Dan Clerk, Don Clerk. Don Clerk in English does not go. There's something missing. In English, you say Don is a clerk. Look at her translation. She puts that word is in brackets. She has the word a by itself. Page 48, again, the first one on top. There are two English words which are not translated in Hebrew. Hebrew does not have a word for a or an. The indefinite article, as they're called. The definite article is a the word. Hebrew also does not have the present tense, the verb to be. Very important that you learn that. The Hebrew language does not have a present tense. It has a past tense, has a future tense. It does not have the so-called present.
How do you show the present?
How do you spell present?
How do you show the present in Hebrew? In language.
You don't. What you have is a noun, and you have a word that follows it, and then you add the word is or the word are to combine the subject with the predicate that follows. The predicate is the word that modifies, or the sentence words that modify the subject of the sentence. If I say Dan Pakid, literal translation, Dan Clerk, not good English.
You have an idea of how many people really have even the basics of grammar. So it's good that you're going through.
Well, I'm giving you the basis right now. In English, you have what's called a present tense that's used, and also articles like an indefinite article. Don is clerk. No, Don is a clerk, or Don is the clerk. In Hebrew, you only have two words, Don. The present tense does not exist. You have to put that in for your English translation. And the indefinite article does not exist. Don Pakid, Don is a. And this is practice. You're not going to know that just like that. You have to see the Hebrew and see the English. English will need a present tense or a past tense or a future tense. Hebrew has past and future. It doesn't have present. And the reason why it doesn't have present, not just Hebrew, other Semitic languages, is I guess the present moment is not real. What you call present is past by me. I guess that's how it's thought through. So Don Pakid, Don clerk, Don is a clerk. You have to fill in words in English. When it comes to translating English to Hebrew, if I saw my sentence as Ruth is a clerk, I go Ruth, and then is I don't have a Hebrew word for, I don't have a Hebrew word for, clerk I do. So Ruth, Pikida. And then the plural, Ruth and Yosef are clerks. The Hebrew will have Ron, Dan Yosef Pekidim. The English will not stand for Dan and Yosef clerks. We need to have a fill-in word, are clerks. So English has is or are. Hebrew does not have the verb to be in the present tense. And notice how she writes it. In all four cases, a predicate clerk. The word predicate is that phrase that refers to whatever words modify, explain, describe the subject of the sentence. When I say subject pronoun, that's like saying in place of a noun, the subject is the ani, I, you, he, she, whatever. Okay. All right, I'm looking now at the next sentences. Ani pakid, I clerk, I am a clerk. Ani pakida, I am a clerk, feminine singular. Anakta pakidim, anakta pakidot. We are clerks, masculine plural, and we are clerks, feminine plural. Hein pakidim, they are clerks. If you translate Hebrew literally, they clerks. Something is missing. That's the verb, the predicate verb, the verb to be. Hein pakidot, they are clerks, feminine plural. He pakida and hu pakid. And now you have the conversation between the Moreh and the Talmud. Notice I said Moreh. How do I know it's a masculine teacher? I don't. The unvocalized Hebrew can even be read as Morah. But the last line on page 48, Talmud, is clearly a masculine word. If it's feminine, it would be Talmidah. Anyway, the Moreh says, Mar Kohen Rofeh. The student repeats, Mar Kohen Rofeh. In translation, Mr. Cohen, doctor? No, Mr. Cohen is a doctor.
On top of 49.
We're not there yet. Page 48 at the bottom. On page 48 at the bottom, Mar Cohen Rofeh, Mr. Cohen, teacher, a doctor. Mr. Cohen is a. You get used to the fill-ins because the English will not work with just simply translating every Hebrew word as you see it. All right, then you have sentences that read on top of page 49, unvocalized Hebrew, Gever Kohen Pikida. If I read literally the translation, Mrs. or Miss Cohen, clerk, something is missing. Miss Cohen is a, two words I need to fill in with. Mar Cohen, Mar Cosby, Rofim. And here's another usage of the letter Vav. We already mentioned the Vav is normally pointed with a Shvanah. It will be pointed with a word, or with the consonant Vav as a shurk if it's fixed to a word that begins with a Shvanah underneath the first letter. It's pointed as a nu if the word that's affixed to it is a word that has a bilabial, a mem letter, a bet letter, a pei letter, or a vav letter. So it's not vim Mar Cosby, it's Mar Cosby. So Mar Cohen, Mar Cosby, Rofim. Mr. Cohen and Mr. Cosby are doctors. Then you have doctor, abbreviation for doctor, Dalit race, Dr. Rita Sharon Rofa'ah. A medical doctor, Rita Sharon, is a Rofa'ah, a medical doctor. Then you have Rina Varut, Studentios. And notice my pronunciation. Rina Varut. The Vav letters point with a kamatz if it's affixed to a word where the accent is the first syllable. Is this told to you by the author? No, she doesn't tell you this. I'm telling it to you. The Vav letter affixed to a word that has accented on the first syllable will draw the kamatz, not a pata. Classic example, Yad Vashem.
Can you want to draw an illustration of that? It might be helpful.
All right, since it's been asked, let me do the whole thing right now. This is a Vav conjunction. We did it already once, but let's do it again.
To reinforce it.
Okay, not a problem, not a problem. The English word and in Hebrew is a letter Vav with a shva underneath it. It's affixed to the word that follows. The X letter is the word that follows. Then we have exceptions. If the word that follows has a shvanah underneath the first letter, the Vav is pointed as a shurk, not as a shvanah. If the first letter of the word that follows, to which you affix the Vav letter to, has a shvanah under it, the Vav takes over the pointing of a shurk. Statement number 3. If the Vav letter is affixed to a laryngeal, aleph, ayin, hey, het, and underneath the laryngeal letters is one of the chatafim. The chatapata, chatsago, chatokamatz. The Vav letter will take over the vowel sounds of the chatafim. There'll be a patach before chatapatach. There'll be a sago before chatasago. There'll be a short kamatz before chatokamatz. So, for example, the word anashim. Look at the way I'm writing anashim. Anashim is spelled with a chatapatach on the aleph. I want to say and people. I add the vav. I have a shva cluster between the shvanah of the vav and the chatapatach underneath the aleph. The vav takes over the sound of the chatapatach, and the word will be properly vocalized as va anashim. Va anashim. It takes over the sound. If this were shvanah to begin the word, the vav is pointed as a shurk. Statement number 4. The vav is pointed as a shurk if the word that it's affixed to begins with the letter mem letter bet, letter pay, or letter vav. Before these bilabials, the bilabial vav is pointed as a shuruk. And then statement number 5 is the case that we just read. If the vav is affixed to a word where the accent is the first syllable, such word shame, the vav is not pointed with a shvana, it's pointed as a kamatz. The famous memorial for Shoah in Israel is Yad Vashem, not Yad Vishem, Yad Vashem. That's it. These are the pointings that deal with the vav letter. 5 different vocalizations of the vav. The normal pointing is a shvana. Okay, back to our Hebrew.
No. So if you continue on to the next line to 3C2, just go ahead and fill in the blanks as you would rather than asking me. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. We'll start doing a more reading of that. We'll now fill in the blanks. Okay, exercise in the book 3C2 found on page 49. Yossi Talmud, what she's asking here is look up the 4 forms of the word pupil and fill in the correct format. Okay.
Pupil, they're on page 45 for reference.
All right, I was told by my student Baruch to look at page 45 for references. That's what you should be doing before you get to this page, but let's go watch the page. Okay, Yossi Talmud. Yossi is a student. Dani is masculine singular, Talmud. Hana, figure out the gender. Is the name of a person, it's feminine. Hana Talmidah. Ruth is the name of a person. Ruth, R-U-C-H in English, Talmidah. Then you have Viva Varut. Notice how I'm saying Varut, not Virut. The word root is monosyllabic. Accent is on that monosyllabic word. The vav is pointed with a kamatz. Aviva Varut are 2 women, so Talmidot. Uri Vidani, Vidani is 2 syllables. Dani is 2 syllables, so the accent is on any word. So the vav is regularly pointed as a shvana. Both are masculine, so Uri Vidani Talmidim, and Mar Yosef Cosby, Mr. Joseph Cosby, single word, singular noun, single expression, is Talmud. The next combination deals with Ani Pakid, I am a clerk, and then the airline is called El Al. Notice how El Al is written, El hyphen the word Al. This is modern Hebrew. Anything with paragraphs for that matter, periods, questions, semicolons, quotation marks. This is all modern language.
The quotation marks are for abbreviations or just the way words are? Because usually they were for acronyms. The quotation marks at the beginning. Are they part of a word like say doctor had that as abbreviation?
It depends. If I write out the word LL, I don't put quotation marks around it. If it's something you're introducing as a name, then you can put quotation marks. That's your choice.
Because I'm looking at the stuff on 3C3, the repetition drill. In the beginning, Mo'ani Pakit, it had a bet, then the 2 yods, and then El Al. So I had a question about that. On 49.
Yeah, look at 49. This is the way she writes it. It's just simply to get the students used to the fact that El Al is a name, it's an unusual name, it's Israel Airlines.
But my question is the bet and the 2 yods.
The bet there, okay. Now, what appears to be 2 yods is a quotation mark. Okay, I understand what you're saying.
So it's not 2 yods, it's a quotation mark from English. I adopted into Hebrew.
Okay.
Please explain.
Yeah, let me explain, bro. Okay, I understand what you're getting
at. I see that in a lot of words.
Okay, just 1 minute right now. Okay. What Baruch is getting a little confused with, let me just explain on the board. Just 1 minute. The author of this exercise, Edna Coffin, basically wants to single out the spelling of that word of Israel Airlines. The Israeli airline service, the main one, is called El Al. This is how you write it out. El Al means nothing than the word to and Al, to the beyond, I guess. It's suggesting an airline that goes beyond the sky above. She puts quotation marks around the LL. These are not meant to be vowels. This is a quotation mark to single out the word LL. It's like writing the word LL one way and then writing it, in an indicated type of way or a gentle way of writing it. It's singling out the word. It's not necessary. But if you have the spelling with a quotation mark, and then you add the word bet to it, the bet letter should not be affected by the quotation marks. Don't have them looking at you. Because I'm losing my teeth right now. Just look at the word this way. Don't look at the quotation marks. They're not part of the word.
So just continue as if the quotation marks were not there.
That's right.
That's
exactly it.
That was the question.
Okay. The question is the quotation marks are meant to indicate the name of that company. It has nothing to do with the grammar. It has nothing to do with the letter bet, which has been added to the word LO. And again, the letter bet, like the letter lamed, is not written by itself. It's affixed to the word that follows. So the bet letter is not affixed to the quotation marks. It's affixed to the letter L. I understood your question to begin with. If this indeed was to be considered, then the quotation marks would look like a yud letter, and a bet letter would be pointed as a kirik. And I can go over the Bakal letters again, the pointers to deal with them, but I'd rather not do that now. Okay, it's bit. And notice her English. She doesn't bother to put quotation marks around LL in English. How come she does it in Hebrew? I guess it's because it's like a new phrase, so she puts it in quotation marks. Has nothing to do with Hebrew, except to point out the word is unusual. It's the name of a company. Okay, let's just read the lines that I found here. Ani pakid be'awal, ani pakid be'awal. And then ata pakid, ata be'awal, at pakida, hu pakid, anat pakidim. Again, agreement between the subject, pronoun, and the word that follows it. And in English, we add the word is a, or anat pakidim, we are clerks in LL. Next page. Reading what she has. Hein Bikidot Be'awal.
Page 50.
Page 50. Hein Bikidot Be'awal. Word Pakid Be'awal. Chana is singular. And notice here she vocalizes the name for Chana. Before, when she used the word Chana, she did not have that word vocalized.
So the digression in the nun doubles it. So it's
That's right.
Na.
That's right. The negation at nun is Nagesh Chazak. It doubles the nun. The first nun closes the patak underneath the chet. Chana Pikida. Okay, if you want to sound it, nun Chana, whatever. Pikida Be'elal. And then Chana Verut. Notice I'm saying Chana Varut. Pikidot Be'elal.
It's Barut, not Beirut.
I would say Varut based on the principle that the Vav is pointing with a kamatz before a monosyllabic word. Most Israelis would probably just simply say Chana Verut. V.
And then they would correct you.
Like, well, right. Again, it's a question of grammatically pure, if you want to be that way, or spoken Hebrew. I don't think she makes a big deal about that until she introduces the Vavla as part of grammar. And then she doesn't go through all the principles.
If you want to just complete 3C4, and then we could wrap it up for today if you want.
No, I'm going to bring it down to the end of this page.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm looking now at the next paragraph. I need more rep. Okay.
Oh, wait, that's on 3C4 fill in
Okay.
exercise.
This is 3C4 on the same page 50.
Okay.
All right. Again, I need to stress this. Reading the English, I'm a teacher in Tel Aviv. Reading the Hebrew, Moreh. How do I know if it's male or female? I do not know. The mem vav resh hey can go either Moreh or Morah. The word ani does not reveal whether it's male or female. Ani is either male or female. Get it? So ani Moreh Tel Aviv or ani Morah Tel Aviv. Anachnu is the same thing. Anachnu is either male or female. It could be Morim or it could be Morot. If it's feminine, then it would be Anachnu Morot. If it's masculine, then Anachnu Morim. And then Universita. The word Aten already reveals it's feminine. Aten Morot Birushalayim. Who is masculine? So who Moreh? Rina is feminine. Rina Morah. He is feminine, so it's Morah. At is feminine, so it's Morah. Daya Vaviva. The Vav has a patzach underneath it, because the Aleph has a patzach underneath it. So Daya Vaviva Morot. And finally, Haim Morim. And then finally, the last exercise. Ani student ba'universita. For replacing the ani with the word he studentit. He is feminine, studentit ba'universita. Then the fill-ins. Ata is masculine, ata student ba'universita. Who student ba'universita. Who is masculine. Yossi is Joseph. Yossi student ba'universita. Aviva virut. See what Edna does? She points the vav with a shva.
Is Viva Varut?
I said varut. She goes virut. I'm not questioning. This is colloquial Hebrew spoken Hebrew.
But it's not literary or biblical Hebrew.
It's no biblical Hebrew will be varut. Literary Hebrew should be varut, not vir. She goes with colloquial virut.
The colloquial, or also known as Hebrew.
Colloquial is everyday Hebrew.
Hebronics.
Okay. Anachnu could either be, let me just finish, studentim, studentiot. And then you got atem studentim. Is that your fill in? Yes. Hem studentim. And finally at studentit. Zehu, people. We'll continue next time.